Good morning, everyone. Well, we love that it's 11:11. That was not purposeful, but I am so grateful to be here. I typically, so I used to do these like morning, like live morning sessions, all the time on YouTube. And I stopped because I started doing them like for other platforms. So it was a bit easier for it to be facilitated. But the platform that I typically do this morning session with today, the class ended up getting canceled. So I thought I could just come on here actually and just put it on my own platform. So if anyone is watching live or if anyone watches during the replay, I'm so grateful that you're going to spend whatever time it is that you choose to spend with me. What we're going to do is talk a little bit about what's going on astrologically, what you may be feeling, which I'm just without a doubt going to say that you may be feeling a lot right now because there's a lot to be felt. There's a lot of reason why you're probably processing a lot of emotion right now. So we'll talk a little bit about what's going on. We'll do some journaling together, and then we can end with some breath work. So yeah, follow along if you feel called to. So the first thing that I want to note, let me pull up my notes, by the way. Let's see. I should have probably prepared for this a bit more. I was just kind of like, let me just hop on YouTube live and see what happens. Cool. So the first thing that I want to know, I want to start off on an immediately positive note because there is some stuff that could be relatively heavy depending on where you're at. Depending on A, I think where this moon is transiting in your personal chart, and also B, just like the fact that there's a lot going on. But first and foremost, we're back in Taurus season, which I'm so excited about. I talked a little bit on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and all the places about Venus moving into Taurus, which I'm just, this placement has brought so much life back into me, and I'm sure a lot of you. We had Venus in the sign of Aries, so we were very, the dynamic by which we related was a little bit different than it is now. I think we were more in an impulsive state. We were a bit moodier. We were a bit, just like irrational with the way that we processed and expressed our emotions. And now the fact that not only is Venus in Taurus, but we also have the Sun in Taurus. I believe we have Mercury as well in Taurus. Let me check. Mercury, yes, and Uranus as well. So now this energy has completely shifted. Which we love that, Earth Day. And also the fact that Earth Day and 420 all fall in Taurus season is no coincidence. I promise you, it makes so much sense. But now that we're under such Taurus energy, such Venusian influence, things are very different as far as the way that we relate to one another and also the way that we are really relating and nurturing ourselves. Now is a beautiful time to, like I said a million times, really nurture and honor our senses. So making sure that we're eating foods that are nourishing us, that we are resting, that we are slowing down, and that we are being attentive and noticing, the sounds, the colors, the sensations, right? I feel like, especially coming out of Aries season, which, Aries being the warrior sign, there was so much about rushing and planning and doing and sort of like action. And now Taurus season is coming to say, what does life feel like when you, take your time to get there? What does life feel like when you actually aren't rushing yourself to become something or to achieve something or to just, achieve? What does life look like when you are simply strolling and being leisurely with that stroll instead of approaching everything as a relay race? And I think this is a beautiful shift in energy because it's going to allow us to pause a bit. It's going to allow us to take more steps. And I think, honestly, we're ultimately not going to have a choice because of the fact that with the Scorpio influence right now, there's so much emotion that we're processing that we honestly can't rush through it, and we shouldn't want to, honestly, because it's a lot. A lot of shadow work is coming up right now, but I'll get to that. I just want to first focus on the fact that, with all of this Taurus energy coming at the forefront, it's important to not only be intentional with the way that you relate to others right now, but also the way that you relate to yourself, recognizing what your garden needs right now as far as nurturing goes. So if there's any ways in which you need to be more attentive with your emotional compass, with your physical vessel, if you need, to be nourishing your body with more nutrients, if you need to be going on more walks, if you realize, I haven't spent enough time in nature and I realize that that's like medicine for me, carving out that time to do it, and carving out time to be romantic with yourself. I feel like sometimes romance can be something that's approached on a relative level, right? Like we like to nurture the ways in which we approach relationships romantically, but now is a good time to focus on what does dating myself look like? And if dating myself looks like, running a nice hot bath or binging a show all by myself, not relying on anyone else's timing as far as episodes go, or cooking myself a nice meal, or, whatever dating yourself looks like, doing things that you probably were more reluctant to do alone, doing them now, and being attentive and intentional. being present with every action. There's so many things that we take for granted because we're used to rushing through them, like breakfast or even, our morning routine, our self-care routine, our skincare routine. What does it mean for you to actually be present within all of that? So Taurus, season is here. It's also a beautiful time to get clear on what financial goals you have. And, outside of like the actual like physical element of financial goals, right? Like actually being attentive with like, what number do I want to see on my paper and in my checks? Also working through any sort of like mindset shifts that need to happen when it comes to money. So if there's any sort of scarcity mindset, if there's any sort of, reluctance to feel deserving or wanting of money, now would be a beautiful time to sort of break through that and break that conditioning that you've sheltered your own life under. I think that, everything is defined by intention. I think that there's this idea that money is bad. And especially if you're working in any sort of field that has to do with wellness, it's almost difficult. I know for me, it's always difficult to like put a price on things that I do because, I think, well, this is coming from the good of my heart and I don't want to ask for money, but, money is an energy, it's an exchange. And so whatever intention you define behind it is what defines it. And if you actually, feel deserving of it and affirm that you feel deserving of it, it'll come to you much more seamlessly. So now's a beautiful time to also focus on that. But ultimately, what I really wanted to talk about was the Scorpio full moon that we have. I believe it's on Monday. I'm doing a ton of stuff for it on Sunday, but it is on Monday. And this is a heavy one. It's a super moon. So we're really feeling the roller coaster of emotion this is probably springing upon you. We're definitely already under its influence, but it is this Monday. And basically, whenever Scorpio plays any sort of role in any sort of like cosmic thing, there's always this element of breaking illusion. So right now, truth is kind of at the forefront, and truth is at the forefront in whatever way it's showing up in your personal life, especially depending on which house it's transiting for you. For me, it's transiting my 12th house. So I've been having a really like transformative experience with the way that I relate to sex, with the way that I relate to religion, with the way that I relate to my own like just like spiritual beliefs, because I'm a Sagittarius rising. And if anyone, I don't know if anyone's watching live because I can't see, but I'm assuming more people watch this in the replay. But if anyone's live and you want to ask me where it's transiting for you relative to your rising sign, I can do that. But ultimately, this is a beautiful time, not even beautiful, this is an imperative time to be as intentional as you possibly can be with admitting to yourself any truths that you haven't yet done. I think that truths, they can place that really, really heavy weight on you if you feel like you are concealing something, if you feel like you're looking at something through a rose-colored lens, if you feel like you're sheltering your life or your mindset under any sort of illusion or delusion. Now is a time when you will honestly have no choice but to confront and face the truth about your experiences, the truth about, the dynamics that are actually unhealthy, the truth about what it is that you really want to do with your life, the truth about how you feel about yourself, the way that you may be holding yourself back. Any sort of harsh truth is kind of at the forefront right now. And it's important too, because, especially now is a time when a lot of like triggers and things that we already thought we healed through are going to kind of get wounded again. But it's because the way to actually sustainably heal through something is to look at the root of it. So now if there's any sort of issues that are sort of coming to the forefront where you're like, oh my God, I thought I already worked through that. I thought that I had already overcome this. And suddenly it's at the forefront again. That's because the Scorpio full moon is here to say, hey, you need to revisit this. This wasn't looked at the root. This wasn't actually taken from source. And in order to really live a life where you're sustainably healed from this, or at the very least, evolved in a way where it will no longer affect you to the capacity that it may be right now, you have to really be honest with yourself. So now it's imperative that we be as honest as possible when it comes to how we communicate with others, but ultimately how we communicate with ourselves. Let me see what else. Yeah, I had written down spring cleaning for all of your dirty laundry, which is something that I saw on Twitter. And I was like, that's literally the Scorpio full moon, spring cleaning for all of your dirty laundry. So if any secrets, anything that you probably were more comfortable with it being concealed comes to the forefront, recognize, letting go of the attachment of reality before that thing was revealed to you or to others. And know that through admitting, through simply speaking on what you're experiencing or what you've had in your head and your heart this whole time, through speaking it, half of the weight is already lifted. Now, of course, I think we should take action to really sustainably heal these things. But it's important to note that like sometimes the truth will heal itself if it's simply spoken on. So just speaking on the fact that like, hey, for me, like, I don't know if I approach sex in a way that's actually constructive to my own pleasure. Maybe it's more performative for me. Like just admitting that out loud and admitting it in circles where other people have said like, "Hey, I relate to that." And having this like dialogue with other people that I never thought I could have, that in itself has been so healing. So recognizing like, how can I heal myself by simply speaking on this truth that I hadn't spoken on? And like I said, this is different relative to your rising sign. So if you have a rising sign that you want me to like look in and see where this moon is transiting for you, I will happily do so. Just drop it in the chat. But ultimately, wherever it's showing up in your life, it's here to say, hey, there's something you need to admit to yourself. There's something you need to admit to someone out loud. You kind of need to do it because that's half of the work already done. So yeah, the Scorpio full moon is all about breaking illusions, ones that you uphold and others uphold, also holding others accountable for the ways in which they may be just not truthful. And you know, the truth holds really, really heavy weight, especially if you've been, I think all of us throughout this journey, throughout this astrological journey for the past year, we've really honored what authenticity means for us and really embodied who we are on every single level, on a physical, emotional, and spiritual level. We are all really wearing ourselves as honestly as we possibly can. So if there's any element of dishonesty or of sort of upkeeping a facade to any degree in any area of your life right now, it's just going to come crashing down. It's the Tower card, but for the best reason possible, for the best reason possible. It's really going to lead to your healing and your evolution. So whatever is uncomfortable right now, dance with the discomfort. I was saying this last week, but you know, this past weekend, I just was not feeling, I was saying this last IG live, this past weekend, I was feeling really, really, really anxious. And I went to this park and it was just so like beautiful. It was a gorgeous day in Florida and the trees were absolutely just like magnificent and brilliant. And I was like dancing among them. And for some reason, I had every reason to feel good and I just was not feeling good. And I was like, oh my God, like, why am I not feeling good? What do I need to do right now to feel good? How can I like force this happiness out of me? And then I just kind of stopped and I sat there and I was like, you're uncomfortable right now. You're feeling a lot of things right now. And instead of trying to force yourself to feel good, why don't you just dance with your discomfort a little bit? And so with me just giving myself permission to feel what I was feeling, even though I couldn't really pin a reason to it, that in itself was the most like overwhelmingly grounding moment for me. And it led to me ultimately being where I'm at right now, which is feeling much better. So I tie that in to say that whatever you're feeling right now, stop trying to force yourself to feel something differently. If you're feeling uncomfortable, it's because a lot of uncomfortable things or discomfort are coming up. If you can pin them to something specific, or even if you can't, just recognize that a lot of stuff is moving out and through you. If you're feeling it, it means you're alive, baby. So dance with the discomfort. Don't, obviously do what you need to do in terms of like self-care, but sometimes I think forcing the healing out of us is so counterintuitive to the actual healing. And if we just let things sort of talk to us and let us know, if we tap into our bodies, especially under this Taurus season, it's important to do as many body scans as possible. So every morning when you wake up, before you consume anything digital, before you even, start your day, just kind of sit there and ask your body like, hey, okay, what are we feeling today? What do you need from me today? Your body will let you know, hey, we need to rest. Hey, we're feeling a lot of energy. Let's go outside. I'm feeling really creative today. I'm feeling kind of sad and like I have to process something. I feel like I need to talk to a friend. Your body will let you know, but you need to start that dialogue. So under Taurus season, I would really advise you to start that dialogue. Check in with your body and don't act against your own body, because that's what I was doing. I was like, my body is saying that I'm a little sad and that I need to sit my ass down and cry, but I don't want to cry. So I'm going to dance in the trees like I typically do when I'm feeling good. And my body was like, I'm not feeling good though. So can you just let me not feel good? So under this full moon transit, know that you're processing a lot. So if you don't feel good or if you feel overwhelmed, and also conversely, if you are feeling good, you may have some placements that are like in support of this transit, or maybe it's transiting a house like your fifth house where you maybe, no, that actually could bring up a lot of inner child trauma. If you're feeling good right now, then vibe off of that. Now is also a time when the spiritual veil is very, very thin. So if you want to do any sort of magic, if you want to connect with any ancestors, any guides, anyone on the other side that you work with, now would be a really, really beautiful time to be intentional with that, right? Look for the signs and synchronicities, open that dialogue, sit at your altar, write some things down. It's a beautiful, I keep saying the word beautiful. I'm like annoying myself. It is a supportive time for manifesting as well, because of the fact that the veil is so thin. So writing down your financial your financial goals, ultimately, I think would be a really good thing to do right now. But just, communicate with your ancestors, communicate with your guides and see what they say. It's a really, really, really easy time to communicate. Let's see what else I had written down. So breaking through anything that we're looking at through a rose-colored lens, breaking of illusions. So the themes, of course, like I said a trillion times, depending on your rising sign, this will transit a different part of your house. If you want to ask, I will answer. But ultimately, the themes right now that are being highlighted with the Scorpio full moon are surrounding intimacy, right? Because of Scorpio, fears in whatever way and shape and form that fear shows up, and self-worth. Those are all arising right now. I know they are definitely arising for me. But, our relationship with intimacy, how we define intimacy and how we are honoring and being intentional with the intimacy that we have with ourselves, right? Are we actually giving ourselves the proper care and nurture on every single level? The mental care and nurture, the physical care and nurture, the spiritual care and nurture. And also, another element of that is honoring the role that we play with sexual intimacy with ourselves and with others, right? How are we approaching sex? How are we approaching intimacy? Do we feel worthy of it? Are we using it to conceal? Are we using it to, what does that mean for us? What else was it? Yes. And fears and self-worth, right? So recognizing the ways in which, maybe we've been undergoing so much ascension that sometimes that can get scary, right? The idea of what you're working for actually coming into fruition is much scarier than when you're at the back end of it, right? Dreaming of things happening is so much easier than when they're actually happening and you're like, oh shit, can I actually do this, right? Imposter syndrome may be coming up right now. So just working through those fears, sitting with them, not, being upset with yourself for them, observing them, right? Like I said, dancing with the discomfort a bit. And I ultimately think that is the main themes. If anyone has any questions, please let me know. But ultimately, in summation, Taurus season is a beautiful time to tend to your garden. Be slow, move slowly, be restful, be present with every ways in which you nurture and honor your senses. So, every meal, every, song you listen to every morning, sit in that sunlight, really be gentle with yourself. And spoil yourself, and whatever that looks like. Spoiling yourself means if you have the means, to do some retail therapy, baby, do it, yes. But also spoiling yourself can mean taking 2 naps throughout the day, or sleeping in a little bit if it feels, or if it's accessible to you to sleep in. Bathing yourself, making sure that, your baths have more intention than typical, putting in oils and salts and whatever the case may be. What spoiling yourself looks like. Honestly, spoiling for me comes in a lot of different degrees and forms, but one of them is just binging the Frenemies podcast and just letting myself be okay with not being productive. So that's what spoiling is for me. So that's what I'll be doing this season. Taurus season is here. Be amongst nature. Happy Earth Day. And for the Scorpio full moon, truth is being revealed, illusions are being shattered, and that is a good thing. That's going to push you towards optimal and sustainable growth. So if you're getting triggered, if old things are coming up, if you're recognizing hey, this is an uncomfortable conversation that I need to have with myself or someone else, you need to. You just need to. The cosmos are saying, hey, baby, it's not time. I switched over from Frenemies to your live. Frenemies is the most important thing, and it's really nourishing my mental state. I think that especially when we're processing so much, we can get really obsessed with doing the work. And I think Taurus season is here to say what does it look like when you're not forcing yourself to process or to do, especially because of the fact that so much emotional work is kind of coming at the forefront. What does life look like when you take a pause from that? So I'm glad it's Frenemies for you as well. It's such a good podcast. I die for Trisha. So if there's not any questions, I can give you guys some journaling prompts. If you want to do them now, you can. Or if you want to take them with you, I will be doing them right now. But the first one is, especially in relation to this Taurus season, is how does my garden need tending right now? What do I need more of? And that comes back to what I said earlier about making sure you have a routine schedule when it comes to doing body scans. Every morning before you already stimulate your mind with, social media and whatever, digital things are asked of you, asking your body, hey, are you feeling rested? Are you feeling energized? Do you need love? Do you need space? Do you need silence? Do you need stimulation? Asking and having a constant dialogue with your body is so important. So asking your body right now and seeing what it says as far as what does your garden need tending to? I'll drop it in the chat. And what do I need more of? So just, you can journal on that for a sec. I will type it up because they cannot find my journal. Perfect. Give us a few minutes. I apologize if you hear me typing. Oh, I can just write it actually. What is this journal? If you're just joining, we're journaling on the prompt, how does my garden need tending right now? Just move this up. And if you guys work with color healing at all, I've been doing a lot of writing with orange pen. I would also recommend green pen right now as well. There's a lot of sacral chakra energy going on. And of course, if anything comes up that you feel called to share, please, please do. Oh, I can immediately say that what I didn't know would come up is like the word bravery. I think I've been playing it safe a lot, and I think my body is asking me to just be a bit more confident with making brave choices. So that's fun and like not heavy at all. Give us about 30 more seconds. Beautiful. Like I said, if anything came up that you feel called to share, please, please do. Like I said, bravery came up for mine, as well as more intentional movement. I think I work out a lot, but I don't stretch enough. And play and rest, which is great for Taurus season. All right, and then I have one more prompt that we can work on, like I said, together or later. Of course, this is not enough time to really flesh out a well-developed answer, so I would invite you to come back to them if you feel called to. But this next one is there a truth I have yet to admit to myself? Which is kind of heavy, but now is a time where it's kind of something you can't really ignore. So and this can be on a grand scale and on a miniature scale, from I'm participating in any sort of dynamic that is toxic or just counterintuitive to my own growth and healing, or on a small scale of like, I have these plans on Friday that I really want to cancel, and I don't want to cancel because I don't want to disappoint someone, or I'm kind of a people pleaser. What truths and any degree on any level need to be admitted? Sometimes honesty is the most uncomfortable when it's to your own self, but that is also how we release ourselves from the chains of it existing only in our minds and in our hearts, right? About 30 more seconds. And of course, if you feel called to share, please do. What came up for me? Well, several things that I won't really speak. All of them out loud came up for me, but I think one of them that I should probably speak on is like, I've been recognizing the fact that I may, in a lot of ways, be the toxic ex, which is so humbling. But I think when we think of toxic exes, there's like this very one-dimensional view of it, and it's like someone who cheats on you or someone who, you know what I mean? And I haven't really done any of that, so I've never seen myself as a toxic ex, but I realize the fact that like I kind of have commitment issues, and I will show up when I want to be there, and then I'll leave when I don't, and I don't really take the other person's like emotional compass fully into consideration sometimes, and that's not healthy for anyone involved. So I'm admitting to myself, hey, sometimes you're the toxic ex, and that's okay, because at the very least you're recognizing it and are willing to work and move and evolve and grow through it. And another thing that came up was that sometimes my self-worth relies on external sources, whether that's, you know, on a social media standpoint, on a work standpoint. If I'm being told I'm doing a good job, then I give myself permission to think I'm doing a good job. And if I'm not told it, I don't really know where to pull that information from. So all things that are worth submitting to yourself so that you can kind of take the power away from them. I think why this full moon is so powerful is because so much of the weight of these things that live in our hearts and in our minds, like I've said a million times, that's alleviated when you simply acknowledge it. Just like how a lot of our emotional turbulence can be alleviated simply by acknowledging it and dancing with it and observing it, rather than like trying to force our way to feel good again or to feel what it feels like on the other side of it. Just admitting and speaking amongst it out loud to a group that's safe and sacred, which I guess for me right now is YouTube, but also, you know, friend groups and sisterhoods and whatever it is that you find yourself to be a part of. So yeah, so those were the two prompts I think were in the most alignment with this astrological weather. I would totally advise you to come back to them throughout the week, especially this Sunday and Monday, and really work on them and flesh them out. But ultimately, if you care to stick around, I would love to lead us through a little bit of a grounding meditation. We can do some breath. I'm trying to think of what breath we should do. There's a lot of sacral chakra energy going on right now because of the fact we're in Taurus season. So we can do a body breath. So that one will actually be standing. So wherever you are, first and foremost, I invite you to move your body intuitively, stretching out anything that needs to be nourished with some movement right now, whatever organically feels safe. Oh my gosh, there's so much cracking for me. Especially if this is your first time moving, if it's the morning, wherever you are. Really being present and intentional with what your muscles and skin are asking of you. And if it's accessible to you, I invite you to come into a standing position. If it's not accessible to you, we'll be doing a breath through the chest and through the hips, which you can still ultimately do sitting down as well. So totally, it's up to your discretion. But I will be standing. So I'll bring this here. I'm also wearing a very weird skirt, so, don't judge me. But wherever you are, I invite you to ground yourself. Feet apart, standing firmly in your body, taking a deep breath in through the nose, filling up completely. Holding on to that breath. And releasing. And on this next inhale, I invite you to tap into your clairsentience and take in a scent that brings you the most peace, that spoils your senses the most, whether it's a flower or food or even a scent from your childhood, taking it in. Grabbing hold of that feeling. And releasing. One last time, taking in whatever scent brings you the most peace, the most joy, breathing it in fully and completely. Grabbing hold of that breath. And releasing. Letting your breath return to its organic rhythm. Whatever feels the most natural, I invite you to now participate in a body scan. From the crown of your head to the base of your feet, check in with your body. And take note if there's any physical space that is holding any emotional weight. For me, it's the stomach a little bit. And wherever you find that you may be holding any sort of emotional weight or tension, I invite you to bring your hands there. Sitting with it. Sending yourself love and support. There's no need to judge or try to fix, but rather acknowledge and forgive. And with your hands resting wherever it is that you feel like you're holding the most tension, I invite you to affirm something for yourself. Affirm something you want to experience and are calling in for perhaps this morning, the rest of this week, the rest of Taurus season, or maybe the rest of this journey and chapter that you're on right now. Wherever your hands are right now, I invite you to bring them to your sacral area. This is right below the navel. We'll be tapping into our sacral chakras for this breath. So let's just bring our awareness here. It's governed by the color orange, and it holds our sensual and sexual energy. It's where we manifest and where we store our self-worth. If there's any stagnancy, or if there's any ways in which you've been limiting your own confidence and placing conditioning on your self-love, on how deserving you are of emotional, physical, and sexual intimacy, and your capabilities of manifesting the life that you truly desire, we'll be breathing through them. And with this breath, we are resetting our auric field. We're cleansing our physical and energetic palette. And most of all, we're alleviating any stagnancy, anything that's stuck in this area. So what this breath looks like, hopefully you can see me, but it looks like on the inhale, moving the hips either clockwise or counterclockwise, whatever feels the most naturally to you. So, and then on the out breath, moving it through the chest, either through an O-shaped mouth or through the nose. So it looks like this. And as we do this breath, bringing your hands wherever they feel the most natural, I really invite you to vision this orange energy pushing through any stagnancy, any limiting beliefs, anything that no longer serves your evolution. And whatever pace feels comfortable, when you're ready, you can begin. Pushing that energy up and out and through. Energizing and fueling your confidence, your capabilities. Coming back to the truth that you are capable, you are confident, you are amazing and magic embodied. Taking a deep breath in through the middle. I now invite you to switch directions, now moving either counter or clockwise. Balancing the energy, even if it's more difficult on this other side, recognizing that you're still moving that energy and that stagnancy through. Breathing in fully and completely. Last few. Last two. Last one. Holding and breathing in even deeper, holding that breath, bringing the hands over the head. Squeezing your sex organs, squeezing your hands, squeezing your body, breathing in even deeper. Holding on tightly. And release. Shaking out and distributing anything you just cultivated. All of the vital prana and life force energy moving through your body, shaking it out. Before pausing in some stillness with your palms facing up and out. Observing your body. Noticing the energy pulsating or coursing. Feel called to sway. Know that that is a natural way for your body to process any shift in energy. Bringing your hands either to heart center, above your sacral, or facing up. I invite you to affirm either out loud or to yourself, I am capable. I am worthy. I am enough. I deserve rest. I deserve play. I am present. I validate myself. I speak on my worth. I am truthful and I am honest. I live my life authentically. I honor my boundaries. I use my voice. I am fearless. I always make the brave choice. I am protected. If there's any other affirmations or things that you want to speak into your experience, I invite you to say them now. Breathing into these intentions and releasing. At your own pace, I invite you to stretch out the body if anything needs to be moved or nourished. Whether you're seated or standing. When you're ready, you can come back. Oh, girl. I always get a little breathwork drunk, so I don't even know if I'll be able to talk, but that's a really powerful breath, so please come back to it if you ever feel called to. I am so grateful, whether you watch this live or on the replay, that you spent your time with me. I hope that you walk into this lunar transit with as much power as you have access to, which is a limitless and boundless amount. I'm sending you all my love, and I'm affirming that everyone that has spoken on their worth, whether in this time period or just within this journey, that life meets you right there with that worth, and that you embody, emit, and attract the energy and the opportunities that you deserve and that you are capable of handling, even when you convince yourself that you're not. Sending you all my love, and so it is. Have an incredible full moon, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.